Welcome to this episode of the Brush and Soap and Blade Podcast, where we look forward to shaving every day. Welcome to episode 55 of the podcast. My name is Rick DeWeese. I'll be your host this week. This week we've got a bunch of letters. I need to fix an omission from a show a couple of weeks ago. I left out having fun with straight razors, so we'll put it in this time around. I'm going to talk about a new brush that I'm playing with. It's a little bronzer brush, and it's a good frugal alternative, at least for right now. We'll see, but I'll tell you about it. The soap I'm using this week is Taylor of Old Bond Street, Eton College. I'm also, I'm changing something. I'm changing the amount of water that I'm using with my lathers. So I'll tell you why, and I'll tell you how much, and I'll tell you, the results so far. I do a quick review of the Baili blade, the Super Blue. The razor of the week this week is a rather special razor. I haven't used it, and I've had it for a while, but there's a reason behind that. I hate to admit it, but, there's the reason, and I'll tell you what it is. Mantic 59 hits a home run. Another one out of the park. A great article over there at the Sharpologist. It has helped me out a lot. I'll let you know what it is, and I'll tell you how it's helped. And finally, just a quick review of the How to Grow a Mustache Bay Rum and the How to Grow a Mustache Arctic Bay Rum Aftershaves. What I thought about them, and in fact, what some other people thought about them too. So anyhow, that's the show for this week. Just kind of catching up on some stuff. So stick around and enjoy. I got a letter from Greg. Hi, Rick. I've been enjoying your podcast as well as the Mustache and Blade podcast equally. You guys both do a great job. You must have some extra reserve of energy saved up somewhere to keep this up, but I hope that the energy never fizzles out. There is so much to talk about in this hobby, and you've been a great voice to listen to. It still doesn't make sense to me that something as trivial as taking hair off the face can actually be an interesting topic of conversation. Something doesn't seem right there, but for some reason there is a gravitation towards double-edged shaving. I think for me, growing up, I'm 29, I never even knew safety razors existed. There was a little ignorance there, but once I knew this technology was used by men before me, and I didn't know how to use it, it made me want to learn right away. And it's been fun ever since. Anyway, this email does come with a question. I heard once on your podcast that you do not like to use a brush and create a lather in the palm of your hand. I've been doing this more often than I have bowl lathered as of late. I guess I like the feel of the soap changing from just a soapy mess into a quality lather right in my hand. I was in the process of this one day, and the lather was taking an extra long time to build. I was then wondering, and this might be a stupid question, but is there any chance that a person can over-lather a soap? I wasn't sure if all that agitation adding air into the soap would be a bad thing, or is there really nothing to worry about on that front? I swear there was something else that I was questioning, but it seems to have slipped my mind. Anyways, no rush or anything on the reply back, and thanks again for all the information. Appreciate it. Well, okay, so my stance on lathering in the hand. I don't enjoy it as much as bowl lathering because when I lather in my hand, the brushes that I use are not terribly large, and it may make a difference if I was using a huge brush that could absorb a lot of the lather that I get, if I was hand lathering. But the brushes that I use are probably what some would consider on the medium to small side. And so having a bowl, typically in my case it's a salsa bowl, having a bowl to contain that extra lather is, for me, the way to go. I find that if I lather in my hand, stuff spills out, it spreads all over the place, it's not quite where I want it. Plus, when I'm shaving, I may necessarily have to rinse my hand off anyhow, which is just a waste of good soap. I'd rather do it in the bowl, and again, this is just me personally. I'd rather do it in a bowl, and that way I have all the soap preserved in case I need it. Now, on the topic of over-lathering, I think if you, and this is just, I've never done this. I mean, I've sat there and played with lathers for a long time and, whipped them up and everything. And typically, I don't do any what you would call damage to the lather as long as I don't add extra water. When I start adding more water, it starts to get more bubbly, more soapy instead of lathery, if that's a word. It doesn't seem to have much of an impact if I continue to whip the lather as long as I don't add extra water. It's when I add the extra water that it just turns into a kind of a soapy, bubbly mess. The bubbles start getting large enough and it starts getting airy and everything else. I've never run into a situation where I'm just over aerating it so much that it's caused a problem. But again, that's just me, and maybe I'm not doing it right. I don't know. Anyhow, thanks for the letter. I did get another comment that was, well, in fact, this was a tweet, I believe it was, and this was a suggestion or an idea for holding brushes. What it was is a set of spice holders that had been cut out, and instead of holding spice jars, they were holding individual brushes, and it was sent to me by Nathan. And Nathan Clark, as a matter of fact, who makes brushes. And I thought that, well, that was a very, very interesting idea. They were wall and cabinet spice organizers. And they're just little clips, and I guess you use double-sided tape to stick them to a wall. And so Nathan sent it to me and said might be a good tip for the show. So I thought I would pass it on. I got another letter from Mark. My father was always upset with how I was influenced by marketing. Anything I saw on TV I had to have. He used to say that someone could sell me a bucket of sand if I was standing on the beach. My wife would get angry at me for the same reason. We'd make a stop at some store and my wife would tell me to stay in the car. You're just going to find something you don't need and you can't live without. So a few years back, Gillette was selling a fusion razor that you put AA batteries in to vibrate the multi-blade cartridge to get a really great shave. After I used it a few times and didn't care for the shave it was giving me, I told my wife I shouldn't have bought it. I said, just how stupid could I possibly be? Within a second, she came back and said, I don't know, advertising may not have pushed you to your full potential. Now I have gotten into this hobby and I'm enjoying the fact that using a shaving brush and a soap gives me a much better experience than a can of goo and costs me much less money. A $4.50 double-edged razor and a 10-cent blade gives me a week worth of great shaves. So when I went into my local store and saw the newest cross between a cartridge razor and a Dyson vacuum cleaner, I just laughed. Can you imagine someone could purchase the Mercure slant bar razor that you spoke about on your last podcast and 100 double-edged blades with the cost of shipping for less than picking up this silly gadget and 10 replacement blades at their local drugstore? The fact is, these gadgets will far outsell the Mercure slant razor. I know that not very long ago I would have bought this thing in a New York minute. Well, no one is going to sell me this bucket of sand. Not anymore. Love the podcast, Mark. Well, thank you, Mark. I agree with you 100%. It is amazing when you think about, okay, they can manufacture a Mercure razor, which is made out of metal and chrome and things like that, and then buy the blades, which are made out of good blade spring steel, and then you've got this gizmo, if you will, and it's injected molded plastic and a little bit of spring steel. Probably less spring steel in the whole pack of replacement blades and everything than there is in 2 double-edged razor blades. I'm just saying. The profit margins on those things have to be extreme, and that is probably why they are protecting and guarding their income stream the best way they know how. Anyhow, thank you for the letter. I got this letter from Darren over at the Wickham Soap Company in the UK. Hey, Rick. Hope all is going well. I have a bit of news. Wanted to share it on the podcast. Wickham Soap Company has been working on an order for Bull Goose shaving supplies. Their sole distributor in the U.S. The order will be with them for the week of 9/29. They will take hold of a limited stock of the following: Club Cola, Spice Trade, English Lavender, and South Sea Spray. We did listen to the good shavers of the U.S., and the above will be available in the much larger 5.64-ounce, 5-inch wide container. Bull Goose will also be running a promotion where for every order placed for the Super Smooth, a free 25-gram English Rose soap will be included. This scent has not yet been released and will be exclusive to Bull Goose. Wickham's independent soap testers have claimed this scent to be the reincarnation of Claire Cabernet. So certainly not one to be missed. So good news from the Wickham Soap Company, and if it's coming in through Bull Goose, hopefully the shipping and everything else will be down to a reasonable rate. Just regular Bull Goose shipping costs. I have tried, and in fact I do have some of the Super Smooth from Wickham. It is a very, very nice soap. I would suggest you try it. It's a good soap, and this sounds like a good deal to check out. I also got a letter from Barry. Rick, I just wanted to drop a line and say how much I enjoy your podcast. I look forward to each new episode. I have listened to all the episodes, and I'm always ready for Thursday to catch the latest. My wife and I were in Walmart a few weeks ago, and I always peruse the shaving section and also look for anything to store my shaving gear in or new ways to display or organize it. I always look in the bowls and mugs to see if anything catches my eye, and while I was searching there, I remembered how many times you mentioned a salsa bowl, so I found the aisle and picked up a $1.50 green salsa bowl. I'm a salsa bowl convert. I'd always been a bowl or mug lather since I started wet shaving. I've been using a ceramic bowl made for shaving for a few months, and always hated the clanging when I would hit the sides with my brush. I feel a little safer with the plastic salsa bowl, knowing it won't shatter, and if I were to destroy it somehow, I'm out $1.50 instead of $30. Thanks for the idea and keep up the good work. Best regards, Barry. Well, first off, Barry, thanks for the letter. Yeah, I am a proponent of salsa bowls. They're about the perfect size for me. I use two of them. One that I put hot tap water in, and the other one that I lather in. Now, the hot tap water, it's sitting down there in the sink, and I use it to soak my brushes and also to get hot water to a teaspoon at this point, and I'll talk about that in a minute, to lather up my soaps. And then I use another salsa bowl, which is modified slightly so that I can get a good lather. And so I use two almost exclusively all the time. Now, the nice thing about these things is I don't have to worry about my razors if I rinse off in the salsa bowl down in the sink. I don't have to worry about my razor hitting the side of the sink. It'll hit the side of a plastic salsa bowl. No harm. So that's real nice. I don't have to worry really about knocking the sides of a brush on them and chipping paint or dropping on the floor or anything else. I use them in the shower. If I happen to drop them and they slip, no big deal. They bounce around. Okay. Doesn't hurt anything. For me, it is a great alternative. And $1.50, how can you go wrong? Now, I've also gotten word from one of my followers on Twitter, I believe it was, or it might have been Facebook. They've also found different colors of these things at a dollar store, and they were $1 a piece instead of $1.50. I can't remember what all the colors were, but there was a picture, and they seemed pretty attractive. So I am a huge proponent of salsa bowls. I just find them a nice alternative. And in fact, in one of my previous episodes way back in the beginning, I also shared with you how to take a salsa bowl and a ceramic berry bowl, which is nothing more really than a small cereal bowl, put the two together and make yourself your own scuttle for about $4. So I'll see if I can't link to that. But yeah, I mean, you can do all kinds of things with these little salsa bowls. And again, at $1.50, it's no big deal. Anyhow, thank you once again for the letter. I also got a comment on the blog from James. Love the show, Rick. It's been fun watching the hobby grow and the knowledge base grow along with it. I personally wanted to say that I appreciate you taking the time out of your life to create this podcast. Keep up the good work. Well, thank you very much, James. I appreciate the comment. I do it because I enjoy it. It's calming. I can come through after a busy day or a hectic day or even something that's really just made me mad, and I start doing this, and I calm down, and I relax, and it's almost like the act of shaving itself for me. So I don't mind doing it at all. It's rather therapeutic. Thank you once again for the comment. Fun with my straight razors. Okay, so one of the things that I have done just to, do something different is I have broken out my straight razors once again for another go. Now, the last time that I did this, I found myself nicking myself up, especially around the jawbone up near the ears. I mean, that's just, I don't know if I got ahead of myself, got too comfortable with. I don't really understand quite what happened. Maybe I was spending. Well, we'll get to that. Anyhow, so whipped up a couple of nice lathers over a couple of days, and proceeded to pull out the old straight razor and have a go. And a couple of things that I found. Number one, I need to send my straight razor out to get it honed. There was one that I was using. It needs honed. It could be a much better razor if it was honed. I do not currently have the stones. I know that sounds bad. I currently don't have the stones to give it a decent edge. I can maintain one, but I don't have what I need really to do a decent job on it. It's a thicker blade than what my other ones are, and if I sit there and just go at it over and over again, I'm going to wear the thing out. I'm thinking anyhow. I need to send it out to get it honed, so I plan on doing that, and we'll see how it comes back and what becomes of it after that. Now, I happen to have another one that has, in fact, been honed, and it did a very nice job. A couple of small weepers, but it was not because, it's not the slices that I used to get when I'd mess up, okay? Now, one thing that I have done is I have stopped using the Shavette. In fact, I'm probably going to be selling that here shortly. I'll give somebody a good deal on it. But anyhow, the thing that I've noticed is that over time I have gotten a little bit more comfortable with holding the straight razor. And another thing that I've done, which seems just absolutely counterintuitive, but another thing that I've done is very much like I used to do in the shower. I have stopped paying really, really close attention to what I'm doing in the mirror. And I have started going by feel. And quite honestly, that has proven probably the biggest improvement in my straight razor shaving that I've had to date. Now, there are things that, positions and trying to get and do things going in certain directions and all that. I understand that. There's always going to be, challenges there. But one thing that I have noticed is that I'm getting to the point where I can actually feel the angle being too steep. And so I can tell when I'm doing that more so by feel, whereas if I'm watching myself in the mirror, I don't necessarily notice that until I nick myself. It's just a unique thing, and I found myself doing it. I actually found myself in a position where my head was kind of tilted down, so I wasn't looking at the mirror, but having my head tilted down at that angle just gave a very nice straight cut for the razor to take. And as I was doing so, I was actually closing my eyes and just kind of feeling. And then it dawned on me, I'm doing that a lot more. And because of that, it's just, I seem to be, not going to say more comfortable, but I seem to be more adept at shaving with a straight razor. Now, if you're just starting out, pay attention to what you're doing. Look in the mirror. Do whatever it takes, But at the end of the day, you got to get yourself comfortable with the thing. And I'm finding that, I'll pay attention to where I start out, and then once I get going, then it's kind of like I can take my eyes off it a little bit because I know that my, that surface is flat or whatever, or I'm concentrating more on making it flat. So, I don't know how guys do it do wet shaving videos and things. There'd be no way I could be looking at the camera in the mirror and paying attention to what I'm doing with a razor at the same time. Can't do it. It just strikes me as completely counterintuitive. Anyhow, I just wanted to give a quick update of my fun with a straight razor. The good news is that I haven't hacked myself up like I once did. I don't have straight cuts. I might have a little weeper every now and then, like I said, but that's not a big deal. So there you go. If you're out there straight raising, pay attention to what you're doing until you get comfortable with it, and then, well, enjoy. So in addition to everything else that's been going on, I've been playing with a new brush. It's an interesting little brush. I kind of went frugal. It's an interesting little brush. I kind of went frugal on this one. I went and got myself some people call it a kabuki brush. Some people have called it, I've seen it advertised as an ELF, ELF brush. But this was a brush that I bought at Target. And this was, in fact, a bronzer brush. Now, the nice thing about it is that some of the ELF brushes that I've seen have virtually no handle whatsoever, whereas this one has a pretty large handle on it, which makes it rather convenient. Now, in fact, it's actually just a bit big. But I wanted to try this brush. This brush was a whole whopping $8. $7.99, I think, is what I paid for it. And I've got some pictures that I'll post up on the blog, and to show you what the packaging looks like and what the brush looks like, and then finally how big the head of the brush is. The loft measurements. Hold on a second. Let me get the old ruler out here. This thing is about a 30 millimeter in diameter knot. And the loft on this sucker is about 40. So it's got no flop at all. I mean, it's fairly tightly packed. It's not floppy at all. It's almost the complete opposite in feel, really, to my Plisson L'Occitane brush, my synthetic brush. But the reason that I wanted to buy it and that I wanted to try it was I'm looking to make this thing into a travel brush. And so what I'm planning on doing with this is it does in fact fit in the travel tube that I have for my travel kit. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the handle off and then kind of reprofile it a bit so that it fits with a small handle, okay, down in my travel tube. So I'll have a nice camping travel synthetic brush. Now, I have heard that the knot doesn't stay in the handle very well, that they're not designed to be wet and all that. Okay, maybe. But for $8, I'm going to give it a try, and I'm going to see what happens with it, and I'll let you know. But the thing that this guy just really goes to town. First off, just like my Plisson, this thing is a lather monster, and it holds a great deal of lather, being the size that it is, and it's very soft, and it's a nice brush. And I'm here to tell you, for $8, yeah, this is the way to go. You know, I used to think that, you know, for the really low priced one, just get yourself a Vanderhagen Bohr. You know, if this thing holds up the way that I think it will, because so far I've used it for about, I don't know, maybe about 2 weeks, and I haven't had any problems with it. The one drawback is that you can't stand it up, so the water can't get down into the knot because the bottom end is rounded, and so I've been kind of laying it on its side to let it dry. So that may be helping me out. I don't know. We'll test it once I modify the handle, and I'll take some pictures of that modified handle, and maybe I'll put it up on YouTube. And so it's an excellent face latherer, because there's a lot of backbone to it, because it's very tight, and it splays nicely, and it's just a nice brush. I've really been happy with it. It's again, for the money, yeah, it's well worth the money. Anyhow, it's a little kabuki brush. It's a bronzer brush, and like I said, I've been real happy with it. It's got kind of a silver band or a chrome band around it before it goes into the handle. So what I'm planning on doing is kind of chopping the handle off just straight, and then kind of profiling a little bit to kind of put a groove in it so that you can grip it, and we'll see how that works. I don't know. It's something that I'll experiment with. Maybe like I said, maybe I'll take a YouTube video of it. But the width of this thing, it's about as wide as a razor is. I mean, it's about about an inch, 30 millimeters, 25 millimeters, an inch thereabouts. It's a pretty substantial size. Yeah, it's about as wide as my slim adjustable there. And like I said, it's a very large size. And so for a travel brush, that I'm looking for, the synthetic qualities of a travel brush, it's about perfect. So anyhow, that's what I've been playing around with. And like I said, I've been playing with it for a while. It's been about 2 weeks, and I've used it quite consistently for probably a week and a half. And it has performed very, very well. No issues with it as of yet. And when I rinse it off, I tug constantly at the knot, just trying to see if it'll loosen up or if it'll pop off or something like that, just so I can report, hey, this thing, nope, don't buy it. It won't last too long. But and in fact, I'm sitting here tugging on it now, and it's nice and solid. It's doesn't have any issues. Good brush. So from a frugal standpoint, $8 for the brush, $1.50 for the salsa bowl. Get yourself some decent soap. Go pick up a vintage razor, and you're in there for not a whole lot of money, and enjoying a nice shave day after day, which is a good thing. So anyhow, that was my kind of an experiment with frugality when it comes to brushes, and wanted to try one out, and so far have been very happy with it. The other kabuki brush that I had was a let's see, it was an Echo Tools kabuki brush. And that knot is a good bit smaller. I mean, it's just less diameter, and this knot probably has easily twice as much fiber in it. It's a much more dense knot. And one of the problems that I always had with the little Echo Tools kabuki brush is that it just really wouldn't pick up any soap. Not the same situation as with this bronzer brush. Again, that I picked up from Target. This thing picks up just gobs and gobs of soap and does a really good job. It's I've been very, very happy with it. But $8, hard to go wrong. So that's my latest adventure. The soap that I've been using is Taylor of Old Bond Street, Eton College. Now, there has been some debate as to whether or not the Eton College has changed its formulation. I don't know, because this is the first time I've ever used Eton College from Taylor of Old Bond Street. However, from my vast internet search and studies, I believe that what I have is the newer version, the one that is not quite as robust as some of the older Eton College versions. Now, with that said, What that means is that the soap still performs, I believe, about the same as it always has. It's just the scent that is a bit, well, milder. I love the scent. It is a very, very nice scent. Subtle. It's not abrupt and in your face. It's got a very masculine scent with a little bit of a citrus note to it, but a very light citrus note. It's more of a, to me, it's almost like a mild English leather scent with some conditioner put in, you know. And I get that because I used to ride horses, and I used to, you know, soap up my saddle and clean my saddle all the time, and it kind of has that scent to it with a little bit of citrus and cologne mixed in with it. Very nice, very masculine scent. Now, again, there has been some debate as to whether or not they've changed their formulation, and the new stuff is in fact lighter than the old. Again, I don't know. Okay, so how does the shaving cream perform? Marvelously. It really did a nice job. Very good protection, very good glide, you know, very nice. Good aftershave feel, you know, very hydrated. It was really a pleasure to use this soap. And you know, my kabuki, you know, my little kabuki bronzer brush synthetic did a fabulous job of whipping up some very nice lathers. And however, there's another story to go with that, and I'll get with that in the next segment. But it did a very nice job, and I was very pleased with it. I'm very happy that I bought the soap. And again, the smell is very, very nice. Mild, not in your face. And I think that works for that kind of a masculine scent. I think if it was stronger, and this is just my opinion, it would be, well, a bit much, a bit ostentatious, a bit like, you know, I don't know, gold plating a Rolls Royce almost. It's a very rich smell. It's a very, very rich and luxurious aroma. And I think if it was stronger, it would, at least in my head, have a tendency to overdo just a little bit. And so I like it just the way it is. Now, you know, you can call me, you know, all kinds of names or whatever, tell me I'm wrong. I'm okay with that. Again, this is just my opinion, and it's just like everything else on this, you know, that I do, it's very personal. And I always tell you that just because I like something doesn't mean you will. But for me, the Eton College Taylor Old Bond Street, fabulous smell, fabulous soap. I've really enjoyed using it this week. I think in political terms they say, my position on this has evolved. It's a polite way of saying, maybe I didn't have it right the first go-around. What the heck am I talking about? We're talking shaving here. I have been playing and learning and changing the amount of water that I put in my lathers. Now, I am a bowl lather by and large. Probably 95% of the lathers that I make in a bowl, specifically a salsa bowl, just because I find them extremely convenient and handy. But after my interview a couple weeks ago with Chris Cullen from Katie's Bubbles, where he talked about modifying the properties of your soap by varying the water in the soap, well, I took that to heart. You know, when someone who knows more about something than I do speaks, I try to listen. I'm not always successful, but I do in fact try. And so I started playing around with the water that I was putting in my soaps. And what I have done is I have been stopping at 1 teaspoon of water. And what I have found is my lathers are still very nice, but they're thicker and more and denser. And because of that, I'm getting much better shaves. I'm getting much more protection, a little bit more glide, and it just seems to be working for me better. Now, I have been saying all along, that these soaps can take a lot of water, and for some soaps, they need a lot of water. And I still kind of stand on that, but at the same time, I'm revisiting with myself just how much water that is. Some of the soaps. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't, even when I'm using 2 teaspoons of water, I'm not making my soaps runny. Okay, they're not drippy. They're not runny. They're still, almost a yogurt consistency. But with just 1 teaspoon of water, they're, thicker. And I have found so far in using them that they seem to work better for me. So that was something that I wanted to report. Again, this is, the whole reason for this podcast is to learn and share that learning with you guys. And so I wanted to make sure that I mention that because it is something that I am changing up just a little bit. And it's something that is different than what I've been doing. And so far, my experience has been pretty good. Now, I will admit that I am, it's not like I'm getting close to a teaspoon or adding just a couple of drops. No, I've got a teaspoon measuring spoon there, and I'll take a teaspoon of water out of my second salsa bowl and dump it in there and go to town. And what I find is that it takes just a little bit longer to get a lather that is as thick. But overall, once I get there, it seems to be a denser, thicker lather that just, performs a little bit better. And but it does take just a touch more time. And the other thing that's interesting about it is that it doesn't, the lather itself, it's almost like it's not there in the bowl and then it is. It's almost like it crosses a line and then just appears. Almost like it's hiding in the brush and then decides to, voila, here I am. Which was different than when I use more water. When I use more water, and when I use 2 teaspoons of water, the lather consistently builds throughout the lathering process. And but with just 1, it's almost like it's hiding, and then it like decides to show itself. So it's different. It's unique. It's it's just one of those things. Anyhow, I wanted to report on that and wanted to let you guys know that that's what I've been doing. I'm going to continue to play with that just to see, what happens. This week, the razor blade that I've been using is a Baili. It is a Baili Super Blue blade. Now, in looking up what these things are, this is a double-edged blade. It has a platinum and Teflon coating, and it says the country is China. So I thought to myself, that's a little strange. And got digging into it a little bit more, and there is some debate as to whether or not these Baili blades are not, in fact, repackaged personas. But I can say, and I don't know one way or another, I mean, it would seem, I don't know. But the one thing that I can say is that this Baili performed very, very nicely. It really did. It was a very nice razor. Or it was a very nice blade, and it performed very well. It was very, very nice. Didn't have any issues. It didn't cut me up or scrape me or give me nicks, burns, irritation, or anything else like that. Now, part of that may have been the soap, but the blade itself, at least with the techniques and combinations that I used with it, it did a very, very nice job. So, I would not be hesitant to buy a Baili blade just because it says made in China. It wouldn't bother me at all. It's it's been a good blade. So anyhow, if I got mine from Try a Blade, it came in the pack. I'm still working through the pack of blades that I got from them. And, you might want to give them a try, because they are all just, all these blades are just a little bit different. And depending on what razor you have, they may perform better or worse for you than they do for me. But that's part of the adventure. So there's my report on Baili blades. I've been using a special razor this week. The razor that I have been using is a Gillette Slim Adjustable. Okay, so, a Gillette Slim Adjustable, there's nothing really unique about that. What's the big deal? Well, this particular Slim Adjustable that I had been looking for a long time. And one of the nice things about Gillette razors, vintage Gillette razors, is that if a person was born sometime before 1989, if you were born from 1988 back, you can actually find a Gillette razor from your birth year. And this Slim Adjustable happens to be my birth year razor. And I also got it in the quarter that of my birthday. So it is, in fact, a true birth year razor. This thing is about as close to being as old as I am as you can get with a vintage Gillette razor. Now, here's the thing. I've had this for a while, but I haven't used it. And you're probably thinking to yourself, well, that's pretty stupid. But I have a confession to make. There's a reason for that. And the reason is, I was scared. I was nervous. I was apprehensive. There have been some Slims and some adjustables that I've had that didn't shave just, really, really nicely. There was something slightly askew or something that was, a little bit out of whack, and it just didn't give the best shave in the world. Now, I had been looking for this birth year razor for probably about 8 months before I got it. And I was hesitant to shave with it because I didn't want to shave with it and find that my birth year razor was in some way not up to my expectations. Now, that may seem odd, or it may make perfect sense to you, but that was my hesitancy because, that was my fear. I'm happy to report that I shaved with this razor, and this particular razor, it is as good as any of the best razors that I have. It met my expectations, surpassed my expectations, and has been doing an absolutely fabulous job. The sigh of relief that I had in my heart after that first shave, that was just absolutely a perfect shave with this razor, was almost audible. It really was. I could almost hear it. Because this razor has sat on a shelf with me eyeing it every now and then for probably 3 months. And it was nothing but apprehension that kept me from using it. That and the fact that I've got so many other dang razors. But that was the main thing, was the apprehension. Like I said, I'm happy to report that my birth year razor, this Gillette Slim Adjustable, that's in very, very nice condition. And I didn't pay a lot of money for it. I didn't pay at all what they're asking for the Slim Adjustables nowadays. It did a very, very nice job, and I'm very, very happy with it. So anyhow, the Slim Adjustable Birth Year Razor is the razor of the week. Oh, and if you happen to be one of the lucky ones born while Gillette was still making vintage razors, I'll post a link again to the U.S. Gillette dating information wiki, and you can go out there and see what your birth year razor actually is, and you too can enjoy the hunt and possibly the find and then the usage of a birth year razor. I need to give a shout out. And I need to give a shout out to none other than Mantic59 over at Sharpologist. Now, why? He wrote a blog post that I'm here to tell you has done absolute wonders for one of the problem areas that I was having in my shave. He wrote an article, and this is an article that he posted August 11th of this year, called How to Get a Better Shave on Your Neck. And the part that helped was he talked about how you get the area underneath your jaw, right there where it's, it's not quite flat, and a single blade or a single razor kind of bridges it and just doesn't do a really good job. And in reading the article, what he said was tilt your head down so that your neck, you're almost like making a double chin, and that area that is typically a problem area for most people, especially me, kind of flattens out a little bit and puffs out so that you can get to it. Now, I've been doing this for probably about 2 weeks, and the results that I have gotten off of this have been, well, rather marvelous. It has really made that area very easy to shave. So I have to give a shout out. I'll put a link up to the article because I think it is well worth reading. It's one of those things where if you have a problem area like I do on your right below your jawline there, right under that, it's an easy way of getting that area and doing a very nice job of shaving there. And the nice thing is that you don't have to go over and over and over again on the same areas, so that helps a great deal. So, Mantic59 has struck a home run one more time. Thank you, Mark. I've been using a different aftershave as well. I got my hands on some How to Grow a Mustache Bay Rum. And this stuff is I like this stuff. It's really good, but it's, well, different. Now, my older son, he doesn't like it at all because for him it smells way too clovey. He calls it spice. He didn't know what that smell was, and when I showed him what cloves smelled like, he said, yes, that's it. So for him, it was too clovey. But for me, I found that it did a nice job. Now, it's alcohol-based, and it does provide a substantial sting that most people know Bay Rums for and look forward to some extent. I found myself, yes, I was enjoying that part of it. Now, I must say that the longevity of this was very nice. It typically lasted me about halfway through the day, and then at that point it got to if I caught a whiff of it, it was I'm not going to say accidental because it really there wasn't much there after about 6 hours, 5 to 6 hours, which for a Bay Rum is pretty doggone good. So I was very happy with that. I did enjoy it. Like I said, it did do a very nice job. Very nice skin feel afterwards. It really felt like it did a good job afterwards of, I've got fairly oily skin, so the alcohol base actually helps me a little bit, keep my skin from getting oily again. And it did do that and did a very nice job and gave me a very good skin feel afterwards, as well as a nice scent. Now, I will admit that while my son did say it was too clovey for him, it does have a little bit more prominence in the spice or clove arena. So when I compare it to some of the other bay rums that I've had, it's different in that respect. If you happen to like that, great. It works out perfectly for you. So very nice scent, and had a good test run of that. Now, I also used some Arctic bay rum, and this is a bay rum with menthol. Also from How to Grow a Mustache. And what I found with this stuff is that the menthol, for me anyhow, got in the way. It was an interesting feel. I enjoyed the feel of it, both the alcohol and the menthol kind of at the same time. But what I found is the menthol in this stuff would actually make my eyes water. And I don't think it has that much menthol in it, but it just had that impact, that effect on me. And so it was almost like my skin didn't quite know what to do. It didn't know if it wanted to enjoy the menthol or enjoy the alcohol or what. It was, well, just confused. But I did enjoy the aftershave. Now, the other thing that I noticed about this stuff is that it didn't last quite as long from a scent standpoint as the Bay Rum Cologne aftershave. It would typically fade after about 3 or 4 hours instead of making it about halfway through the day. If it made it to lunch, the Bay Rum by itself would make it to lunch, and the Arctic Bay Rum would make it to about first break. So still a really good performance. And like I said, it was interesting, but it was menthol. Menthol is growing on me, but at the same time, I'm not, like a menthol addict. It's just one of those things. I guess I'm different. I don't know, but I did enjoy it. It was very nice. From a smell standpoint, it seemed that the Arctic Bay Rum wasn't quite as clovey as the Bay Rum. It was a little bit more, I guess, balanced would be the word. The just straight Bay Rum, like I said, seemed a little heavy on the spice. Now, when I say seemed a little heavy, my son was like, I walked down one morning and my son was sitting there. And he's like, what's that? And I told him, I said, well, it's probably some, the aftershave that I'm trying. He said, oh, God, that's spicy. That's all you can smell is spice. I mean, he just, I'm like, son, it's okay. Calm down. And I really don't know if he was reacting just to react because he knows it bugs me or if he really meant it. And he never has really said, so, Anyhow, I enjoyed it. Like I said, a little bit clovey. Now, I did also loan some of this out to, I filled up a sample bottle and gave it to a friend of mine. And David said that it was probably one of his favorite Bay Rums. And he really enjoyed it. So there's, from someone other than me, someone else is enjoying it out there too. So I thought I would pass that along because it is a very nice scent. I mean, it is a very nice Bay Rum. And like I said, I have enjoyed it. Well, that concludes this episode of the Brush and Soap and Blade Podcast. I hope you enjoyed listening to it as much as I enjoyed making it. If you have some suggestions or would like a topic covered, drop me an email at brushandsoapandblade@gmail.com or give me a call at 864-372-6234 or contact us on Twitter at Brush and Blade. You can also visit us at our blog, brushandsoapandblade.wordpress.com. As always, we're available on iTunes and Stitcher.